I'd walk in and sit down, and students would kind of sit up and start looking at me, start staring at me. And then I would look to my left and look to my right and go, guys, I'm not the instructor. I'm here to take the class just like you. And then they'd kind of relax, and then the instructor would come in. So that was always a funny thing to happen, is that I was typically the oldest guy in the room. I spent 23 years on my education to obtain this bachelor's degree from Texas A&M. My parents, Aurelia and Abraham Orozco, they really instilled that in me. So growing up, it was education. They made it known. Go to education. Get your education, mijo. Go to school. That's important. I remember quitting school to get married, and my parents said, promise me that you'll go back to school. If you love her, you'll go back to school, right? I promise. I promise I'll finish school. I was working for a radio station. There was a gentleman there, and I admired his Aggie ring, and we were talking about college and how that, and he gave me some pointers on that. And he took off his Aggie ring and he gave it to me and said, you know what, why don't you just hold that for me for the weekend or for the evening. So I just want you to see what it feels like to have one of those. At that point, it was just like, maybe I could do this. Maybe it's possible. Maybe I can have one of these. When I first got here, I would take one class a semester in the spring and one in the fall. It was pretty difficult at times. Wherever there was an online class to take, I took it because it allowed me to work. It was not easy balancing those things, but working the schedule was how I got around that. Very few people knew that I was doing this. My greatest fear was, well, you tried, you ran the race. Did you finish? No, I didn't finish. I had to stop. I quit. And I've always found that to be, how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to get through this class? How am I going to make an A on this next test, or a B, or just pass the class? It's a pass-fail class. How am I going to be able to do this? How am I going to fit this into my schedule? What would I say? How could I face these people? So that was my motivation, is to keep going. I have two children, two sons. They would see Dad sitting at the table, studying, staying up late. Where's Dad? Well, he went to class tonight. He'll be home in a little while. And I was doing this for them, to give them a better life. And so I didn't think that they were watching me, but they were, your little ones. Hopefully I've set an example for them to say, hey, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to accomplish in life, you can do this. It can be done. Just have faith. In January, when I was able to sign up for my Aggie ring, that's when it started really going, this is going to be it. And spring of this year, of 2019, was the slowest spring I've ever experienced in my life. It was that anticipation of it finally arriving. I always tell people the ring is the thing for me. And I was telling my children, one day is today. Today is the day that I've been thinking about and dreaming about for all this time, to finally put that ring on my finger and to know that I am an Aggie graduate. I've graduated from Texas A&M University. I've always told my children that whenever they've run into circumstances or problems or anything, I said, you think you're the only one ever in the history of the world to have this problem? You're the only one that's going through what you're going through? No, you're not. And so I hope that my story just inspires somebody who's maybe in their 30s and says, yeah, I can still do it. Maybe they don't take 23 years. Maybe they do it in half the time. Maybe they do it in 10 years. But they do it. They take the challenge and say, yes, I'm going to complete that. I just want to let people know that it can be done. It can be done. My name is Orozco, and this is my Aggie Story.